Okay, so welcome to today's webinar. It's on staying healthy in ISO. I'm Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. I'll be going through various aspects of how to be healthy and creating healthy habits and covering them holistically. So looking at all facets and making sure that you're doing something in each of the areas to ensure you stay the healthiest you can be during this period. So a little bit of background about me. So I originated as a chemical engineer in terms of finishing my undergraduate degree. It was initially in chemical engineering, and then did 15 years in the mining services world, and discovered that it really wasn't fulfilling my passion, and my underlying burning passion was being healthy and helping others. And so what I decided to do was go back and get another qualification, that being a degree in complementary medicine, and then followed by a degree in nutrition and dietetic medicine. And that enabled me to obviously have a university qualification as well as my experience and my passion to share my health love with others. So now I'm doing what I love, and I really enjoy running these webinars. So as I said before, if you've got any questions, please use the chat function. I'll revisit that at the end and answer all your questions. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to cover mindset. So this is around purpose and aligning to a purpose, and then, setting intentions each day, goals, and, taking each day by day, essentially. Also, we're going to cover nature, aspects of nature, that being sunlight, and the importance of getting sunlight throughout the day. As much as we're in isolation, we can go outside and exercise, and now we can visit a family, which is getting better. I'm encouraging movement every day. I don't call it exercise. It's more about you getting out and moving your body and how you like to move it. It doesn't necessarily need to fit into that stereotypical exercise category. I'll be covering nutrition and covering that at a high level. If you've got detailed questions around nutrition, happy to answer them, but certainly going to be covering that more on that macro and what generally your plate should look like and what it should consist of. Also, I'm going to cover off downtime, and this is very important, particularly if we're busy in work mode, crisis, helping fight the fires created through this pandemic, or is it, we're just busy on the home front, supporting everyone emotionally. So this is about self-care and looking after yourself. And then lastly, we'll be covering off sleep. Overlaying all of this is social connection. And as much as they call it social distancing, I much prefer to refer it to as physical distancing. Social, we want to stay social, and we can do that by maintaining safe physical distances. And, there's mediums in which we can do that. This is one of these mediums. There's a whole lot of groups forming that are running Zoom calls and fun sessions and entertainment, and we can keep doing them. And the great thing is now we can visit other families. So that's going to encompass everything that I'm going to talk about, is this social factor. So it's certainly going to be covered. Okay, let's start with mindset, because this is so important as to how we, take on what's coming at us and what's what our journey we've been on and how we might be coping. So obviously it's worth checking in and reflecting on how you're feeling at present. And just, are you in a good state? Do you feel a bit anxious? You're a bit worried about the future, uncertain as to where the income's going to come from, or just missing people. So it's important to get in touch with your feelings and really get into that state of knowing where you're at, and that's important about that, actually reflecting on yourself, to understand and to listen to your body and to acknowledge what's going on inside you. So in terms of my tips around purpose, setting intentions, goals, it's really starting with the end in mind. And this doesn't need to be a big, audacious, hairy goal. It can just be a simple getting through each day. it can be as simple as just supporting your family the best you can. It can be as simple as, ensuring that you're looking after yourself so you can best serve others. Or it could be doing random acts of kindness, helping out other people, your neighbors and things like that. So it's really setting these intentions, but setting them daily. And it can just take each day as it comes. We don't need to be predicting where we're going to be in 6 months or 12 months time. There's a lot of uncertainty around that, and there's a lot of things out of our control. So if we project ourselves too far into the future, we're projecting into areas that we can't control, we have no control over. If we just focus on each day and the tasks we take on each day, that's things within our control. And that's very important. One of the key fundamentals of mental health is autonomy. And this is one of the things that has been somewhat taken from us. The ability to choose what we want to do when we want to do it. The government's telling us who's got a job, who hasn't, and what you can do and can't do. So this loss of autonomy has created anxiousness, as well as the uncertainty around the future, as well as the social disconnection, because that socialization is one of the key pillars of mental health. So really think about, upon waking or the night before, reflect on the day or the day that you want to create, and set an intention each day. And that intention can be really simple. It can be, I just want to support my family throughout today, or what we want to get through it together. Or it can be taking the next step beyond that, and it's, what do you want to have coming out of this? So what is it that you've been putting off that you may have some more time to do that you can now take on? So set an intention around that. So it could be, I've wanted to do knitting. I've wanted to learn this craft. I wanted to, try this hobby. For me, it's been, I've started karate with my children. So we're doing that on Zoom. And that's been fantastic. It's something new. It's challenging. It's movement. It's mindfulness, and there's an element of exercise. And so I've really enjoyed that. And so that's been my little challenge, as well as running these webinars. I've never run webinars before, so I've been doing webinars and podcasts, and these are my little things that I'm wanting to learn, the craft of wanting to master, and it's taking me forward. And that's the important thing about setting the intention, and then working on that task to deliver that outcome. Really makes you feel like you're moving forward. And moving forward doesn't have to be in giant leaps. It can be in little incremental steps. So I suggest you don't jump way out of your comfort zone, because you're already out of your comfort zone. It's just managing how far out you want to go, and just really listening to your body, as I said at the start of this, just connecting with what you're currently feeling, experiencing. I did mention the next point, which is focus on what you can control. And yeah, I've probably elaborated on that enough. It's just, and that's taking each day as it comes. It's, embarking on a morning routine that you have complete control over. So, what time you get up, what time, what you do when you get up, whether you go out and exercise, whether you just go for, a simple walk around the block, you do a meditation, that's great time where you can own it, control it, and it can't be taken away from you. So I suggest you get into these morning rituals where you're in control, and same with an evening ritual. And during the day, there'll be things, stressors that come into our day that do throw us a bit, but we can become more resilient to those stressors if we've had that anchor at the start of the day, and that reconnection with that anchor at the end of the day. So this is what I'll be going into a bit more detail around, developing these morning rituals, evening rituals, a bit later on in the presentation. And then I've got the last point here is create your ISO plan. So as much as you would have a routine before ISO, now it's so important, even if you've been a bit out of routine and you're wanting to get back on track, now is the time to create that routine. And you can develop that routine, and it's something you're in control of, and it's heading towards your intentions, your goals, what you want to get out of this period. And you can come out of this period flourishing. So it's not all doom and gloom. It really depends on where we focus our thoughts, our thinking, and where we drive our actions. So I'm going to go through a bit more mindfulness and certainly touch on some morning routines, some evening routines that will really help you get back some control. And you'll find steadily incrementing these tips over time will amount to great change and feeling a lot better. So the next point is around sunlight. And this is one of these things in isolation we probably didn't get a lot of because we were really in hibernation. Now that things have loosened up a bit and we've got less restrictions, it's important that we get out, and it's important that we get out and get connected with the sun each day. And I've listed some key points around the importance of sunlight. So it really helps lift our spirits. That feeling that warmth onto your skin, those sun rays, is so uplifting. It also helps with sleep, because what it's doing is, particularly if we get it at the start of the day, it's telling the body to do daytime functions. So it's telling right down to a cellular level what it needs to produce during the day. And this helps with digestion, obviously. This helps with us having energy, us secreting enough cortisol, and really allowing the cortisol, which is a stress hormone, to be better regulated. At the end of the day, it allows the cortisol to drop, the melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, to pick up. And if we've got all this in balance, by simply just telling the body daytime's daytime and nighttime's nighttime, it can go a long way to helping us get better restorative sleep, more energy during the day, and just feel better about ourselves and more resistant to stressors, more resilient. It also helps with the synthesis of vitamin D. So it's the catalyst that we need to make vitamin D. And vitamin D is really important for our immune health. And in particular, we're very focused on our immune health at the moment. So it's very important to get this sunlight. It also helps with calcium absorption. So for our bone health, our bone density. And last but not least, it's very calming. And again, it comes in moderation. So you don't want excessive sunlight. Overexposure is not good, but it's finding that balance, and it's getting enough. And what I suggest is getting a bit throughout the day. I'm going to go through ways in which you can do that and get some sunlight throughout the day. Movement. So, one way in which you can combine sunlight and movement is getting outside and exercising, and we can do that. So I thoroughly recommend you get out and about and move your body and enjoy some sunlight. This time of the year is fantastic. The sun's not too harsh. It's not too hot. It's just perfect. So do that. Get out, move, get some sunlight. So what movement does, as well as exposure to sunlight, exposure to nature, it really calms our nervous system. So at the moment, with all these stressors around uncertainty and all the emotions that we're carrying from loved ones, because they might not be coping, all that pressure on us is stresses on our body, and we need to discharge that stress. So one way in discharging this stress is by getting out, moving the body. Movement also helps with our immune system. It excites natural killer cells. Natural killer cells are our surveillance cells, looking out for those enemies that we don't want in our body. So getting some movement, stimulating the immune system, you're supporting your resilience, because you've got better control over your nervous system. What we don't want is us getting overwhelmed. This is the anxiousness, right? When we get really overwhelmed with life, we feel very anxiousness, and that is where our nervous system's very heightened, and we've just got to calm that a bit. And we can really calm the nervous system through, getting connected with nature, getting out sunlight, getting some movement. And we're going to cover some other aspects of how we can calm and get better control, better regulation of our nervous system so that it can perform the other useful functions. So we certainly want to be digesting and assimilating our nutrients that we're consuming. If we're very anxious, overwhelmed, and our nervous system's very excited, it impedes digestive function, it impedes immune function, it impedes sexual reproductive function. So it's important that we better regulate this nervous tension, this nervous energy, this excitatory, this exacerbated stress response by acts of calming throughout the day. It doesn't need to be strenuous exercise. It can just, light, brisk walking, a jog, yoga, just movement, tai chi, dancing. It's just getting the body moving, being physically active, walking to the shops, buying your groceries. So I've covered, yes, all these points here in my discussion of that first point. Okay, now on to diet. What can you do around diet to nourish your body throughout this period? So I very much engage with the traditional Mediterranean diet. I know there's a Western version of the Mediterranean diet, which is pasta and pizza, but I'm thinking that more traditional sense. And it was so rich in vegetables and fruit, whole grains, beans, legumes, and then, moderate amounts of fish and eggs, dairy, and then a small amount of meat. So I love this pyramid. It reflects a real healthy and a diet that's associated with longevity. So we're all about, living healthily and for long periods so that we can watch our children grow up, our grandchildren, so that we can better serve society and our community and be the best we can be. And we can do that through nourishing ourselves with diets that are scientifically proven to drive healthy outcomes and longevity. So what do I recommend around this, big picture nutrition? I mean, there's a lot of individualization nutritionists can do for you. However, just in terms of this webinar, limited of time, I can only talk in this general context. So I'm just giving you some rules of thumbs, a guidance here. So certainly on your plate, 2/3 is what you want to be aiming for of vegetables, and that consisting of a huge amount of color. So go for as much color as possible. Go for seasonal and go for local. And one of the ways in which you can do this is to get a vegetable box, one of those fruit and vegetable boxes that are arranged by these local producers. You can get that delivered to your door. And what else I love about that is it creates a challenge for you in this time. It creates, it can be a hobby. You get your box. It's all packed with fresh, local, seasonal produce, and you're challenged by what's in there and what you can create out of that. So it can be quite fun. You can get your kids involved, get your family involved as to what are we going to do with this? How are we going to plan the week's meals around this box? And so, you start Googling, you'll start learning about different vegetables you've never seen before. And so it's a great way to really just step yourself out a bit and increase your culinary taste and variety, as well as getting more nutrition. So I suggest you take on that challenge if you're up for it. If you want to take it more in baby steps, then the baby step of this challenge would be to, every time you go to the fruit and grocery store, is to pick something you've never had before, and continue to do that each time you go shopping. And there'll be things that you really love and you'll continue eating that. There'll be things that you think, oh, I'm not quite sure about. Well, that's also a challenge. You can then find out ways in which you can utilize that and make it taste better. So this can be fun, and it can be, engaging with the family, and that's, creating that social environment that I mentioned at the beginning. So yeah, 2/3 of the plate, lots of vegetables. You certainly want to be getting fruit throughout the day, and again, fruit, local, seasonal, and color. And you balance that 2/3 with grains, nuts, seeds, meat, and dairy. In terms of meat or fish, I recommend a palm size, but then I'm generalizing here. So depending on your goals, um, this palm is typically a general good rule of thumb, as you will be getting enough protein. But if you're a weightlifter or if you're a really ambitious athlete, then you might need more protein than that. So again, it comes down to the individual's goals. But in a general sense, that will be enough. So that's your size of steak, that's your size of fish. If you're a vegetarian or vegan, then you want to be having this third of the plate, lots of variety in terms of different grains, different nuts, different legumes, beans. So that's your protein source, as well as carbohydrates. Now, we talked about regulating this nervousness or this built up tension that we can get, this overwhelm, this anxiety, and how do we bring that down so that you're back in control and that you can get to sleep that night and feel happy with where you're at in life and what's going on. So what I suggest, and this also drives productivity, is this Pomodoro technique. And it's proven to be very effective. And a lot of, highly effective people utilize this technique. So the Pomodoro technique is essentially focusing on a task. So it's, what you set at the start of the day in terms of your intentions, what goals you want to achieve. And that could be as simple as, shopping. It can be as simple, whatever those tasks may be. It can be that call that you've been putting off, you haven't been wanting to make. It could be whatever it may be. It's making that the focus for 25 minutes and, just going deep. And so in that 25 minutes, there's no distractions. So you switch off your email, your notifications, turn off your phone is probably the best tip there. And make sure you're in an undistracted environment and really just focus. And so it could be writing a blog for work. It could be doing a particular project task for your team. It's just focusing for 25 minutes of uninterrupted time. At the end of that 25 minutes, you have a 5-minute break. And that's when you get up, you move your body. And this is when I suggest, if you can, step out on the balcony, step outside, go and get a drink of water. That's your tea break. It's time, if you feel like a snack, have a snack. And you can also do some mindfulness in this period of time. And that will reset you ready for the next 25 minutes. It may be recommencing that task that you started on that you didn't quite finish, but it enables higher productivity through having these regular breaks. So I really suggest you try this. It's very effective and it works really well. It also helps, if you're obviously taking those breaks to move and to get out and get disconnected from your area of focus for a period of time. I'm just going to make sure I get someone got their mute off. To the productivity. So yeah, really suggest you focus on this technique and try it for yourself. And it is really rewarding. Okay, now we're going to get into combining some of what I've mentioned and factoring it into your day. So it's going to encompass that social aspect, the sunlight, the movement, the downtime, and just having this balance throughout the day is really going to set you up for our last point, which is on sleep. So I mentioned that morning routine, getting the sunlight, getting some movement, doing something for you. It's a great opportunity to for self-care, essentially owning that time. And because as the day goes on, there's more and more demand of your time. So the start of the day is a great space to be in control, own your time, get what you want to get done, and then you can serve other people. So I suggest you do something around the morning ritual, getting up, exercising, getting outside, getting some sunlight, then coming back, having a nourishing breakfast, uh, and then, basically sitting down, reflecting on what you want to achieve, setting your intentions for the day, and then working out what's the most important thing you want to achieve, putting that at the top of your list and applying the Pomodoro technique and starting with the hardest thing first. And you wait, you focus on it, you'll get it done sooner than what you ever anticipated, and you'll feel great afterwards. And that builds momentum throughout the day. So you're tackling the most challenging, the most important task to you at the start of the day, applying the Pomodoro, and you watch, you'll just breeze through the day, and you could even finish your whole intention for the day by mid-afternoon, by lunchtime, applying these techniques. And obviously, when you're applying that Pomodoro, you are getting those 5-minute breaks in between the 25 minutes of productivity. So that should help manage stresses. And so that's, it could be 1 25-minute block is where you concentrate all your phone calls. So rather than accepting phone calls when you're working on your deep work, let it go to voicemail. Then you can choose a point of the day at which you want to do phone calls, and that's your Pomodoro focus for that period. And what I do, I generally have my calls in the afternoon because that's when I'm feeling a bit tired, and when I'm talking, I get lifted. I'm breathing, I'm interacting. So I like doing my deep work in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I'll have sections of the day where I'm doing that calling and just calling everyone I need to call in that period of time. Same with emails. So it's not answering emails as they come in. It's obviously letting them build up and then having a period of the day at which you answer emails. And this will drive huge amounts of productivity or give you time back in your day to do more self-care, to look after yourself. And you're getting these 5-minute increment breaks to calm down, relax, and really just enjoy the day. Enjoy it for what it is. I suggest at lunchtime that if you're not getting out, in the morning session, that you get out, at lunchtime, get outside, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, do a bit of movement. It will really help lift the afternoon in terms of more productivity. You'll have more energy if you do some movement activity around that lunchtime. And then again, having a nourishing meal, as I suggested, focusing on the fruit and vegetables, getting a lot of that, a lot of plant-based, and then, getting adequate protein, but not excessive protein. As I mentioned, the palm. So, then in the afternoon, we're applying the Pomodoro principle. We come into the evening, and this is what I'll go through in a bit more detail. So we need our sleep routine. So we've got our morning routine. We've got our productivity plan throughout the day. We've got incremental breaks throughout the day. We've got time to get outside, get some sunlight. Lunchtime could be where you meet up with a friend and do a walk and talk. So that can be a social thing. It's something to look forward to. So set up a lunch date with a friend, say, let's do a walk and talk, go out, meet them somewhere. Hopefully it's around the park and you get a bit of nature. And that will be fantastic because it will really set your afternoon up. It may be getting out with the kids and taking them to a park. So in terms of a night routine, it's obviously, making sure you eat early, ideally before 7. Why this? I'll get to why this. But having an early dinner certainly allows, us to relax as early as we can. And again, you need to adjust this to your day, your schedule. But I guess if you look at the last point, I'll talk to that now. But we want to be in bed around 10 p.m. The research shows between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is where we get our most restorative, most regenerating sleep. It's where we do the most repair. So that's when our body's in the heavy maintenance phase. And if we optimize that window, then we're going to be really feeling great the next day. If we eat into this 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., like going to bed at midnight, it's going to be challenging the next day. So I really suggest, really thinking about how you can create an earlier evening. And where you get the time back is in the morning. Obviously, if you get to bed around 10 p.m., you'll be up around 5, 6 a.m. And that's no one's demanding your time then. There's no distractions. In the evening, there can be lots of distractions. There can be Facebook interactions. There can be all the chat groups and all that sort of stuff. So, there can be people demanding time and your energy. And, so if you can shift your routine to getting into bed earlier, waking up earlier. What we want to do after dinner is obviously allow our body to digest the food, and we need to be in a relaxed frame of mind. If we then go back to stimulus, such as back to work, back to stuff that gets us anxious, watching the news, for example. So turn off the news, watch a comedy, watch your favorite drama, something that enlightens you, makes you feel good. That feel good will enable you just to digest your food. So really relax after dinner, do something that you love doing. It may be putting the kids to bed, and so you obviously need to work this around your children. But obviously, if you can get them into a routine where they're getting to bed earlier and getting to sleep earlier, that helps everyone, helps them, helps you. Part of this routine, you want to be lowering the lighting. Now, I mentioned at the start of the talk around getting that natural sunlight and telling the cells to wake up and do daytime functions. We need to do the opposite at the other end of the day. We need to dim the lights. We need to, turn off the white lights, the fluorescent lights, the blue lights, all these electronic devices, all these screens, put it into night mode. And what that does is then tells the cells to start switching on the nighttime functions. And, that will be like producing melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So the earlier we get those lights down, if we're starting to dim them around 9 p.m., that's fantastic because it allows our body to start making melatonin, ideally, a bit earlier, 8:30 if possible. And by 10 o'clock, you'll feel the effects of having lots of melatonin. You'll be really ready for bed. You'll feel quite sedated. So once you have the lights turned down, so you can either light some candles, you can put on some warm lamps, but it's turning off those fluorescent lights, minimizing your screen time. Suggest you put on some music that relaxes you, that really just calms you, whether it be classical music, nature sounds. This is a great routine for kids, and you can start this same routine and apply it earlier. During this period of you starting to wind down, there will be thoughts coming into your mind. I didn't get that task done. I need to get back to this person. Oh, I forgot to call them, all that sort of thing. So this is when you want to have your journal nearby. And this is when you want to be writing down these thoughts that are popping in your head, getting them out straight away, not manifesting on them. Because if you sit on that thought and think, I've got to call that person. If I don't, I'm going to be in trouble. And then you start manifesting all the outcomes of not calling back that person. And it just becomes manifesting into this massive problem that was just a simple thought. So if we can just grab those thoughts, capture on a bit of paper, they're out of our minds, and we can just allow that, mind to calm down and stop stimulus coming in, and better regulate the thoughts. They're going to keep coming, but we can keep putting them on paper. So keep, putting to-do lists down, to-do items down that you didn't get done, that you want to get done tomorrow. Write down thoughts, things that are on your mind that you are plaguing you. It's good just to journal that, just to note it, that you're in tune with that signal from your body. So it's good to note, reflect, note these things. This whole process of putting it on paper is just getting it out of you and away. I like to finish this journaling exercise with thoughts of gratitude. And the reason is that it leaves you with more optimism and thinking that, yeah, the world's not too bad at all. There's so many things to be grateful for. And often when we're doing this gratitude journal repetitively over time, we start looking for the really small things because we've covered all the big things before, and you'll find it easier to start. And as you go on, you need to really look and dig deep to find things to be grateful for. And what it does is heighten your awareness so that when during the day you start to acknowledge these random acts of kindness, these things that happen to you that are great. And that acknowledgement makes you feel better throughout the day. It helps you manage the stressors better because you're starting to get recognition, and feeling the support and love of others and the community. And I think that whole, act of gratification, appreciation really creates that heightened level of awareness and just takes us away from focusing on what we don't have. There's plenty of things we don't have in this current climate. We want to focus on the things we do have and appreciate them. So I really suggest you start this gratitude journal, finish it at the end of your journal so that you're feeling great about yourself and it relaxes you further. And during this routine, you might have your shower. That's, great. If you have a bath, you can have an Epsom salt bath, put some essential oils in, play some lovely music. It's good doing these things. You might not be able to do that every night, but just pop it into the week. Like just say Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my Epsom bath night, and you'll look forward to it. It's something to look forward to. Oh, it's Wednesday. It's my bath night. What I often shower in the evening. I don't necessarily have an Epsom salt bath every day or every second day. However, I do shower every evening, and I shower in complete darkness. I'm playing music that I love, and after showering, I then start stretching because the muscles are a bit warm from the shower, and so I just roll them out and I do some light stretches. And that is sending signals to my brain that everything must be okay. If you're releasing the tension in these muscles, it must be okay. I don't need to get away from that threat or that tiger anymore. I don't need to be this heightened, scared person. Everything must be okay because the muscles are being relaxed. So this whole act of stretching, relaxing is just sending signals to the brain that everything's okay. You've got this. You've got it all under control. And I can guarantee if you implement just some of these things, and turning down the lighting, emptying your thoughts on paper, you will start really feeling tired during this process. And by the time you get to bed, your mind's fairly clear. It's not got all these thoughts racing through it. All those thoughts are on paper that you'll tackle the next day. You feel a bit sedated from the melatonin that's been building up, and your muscles are relaxed. You feel very ready for bed, and you'll fall asleep very quickly. So really suggest you find your nightly routine, and it could include elements of what I've spoken about, but it may also include things that really nourish your soul. So it's really finding things that work for you. So in summary, I covered the mindset, and this was all around focusing on small steps, setting intentions, working towards that, gaining back control into your life. So focusing on the things you can control, not worrying about the things you can't. The government needs to, that's all, that's their job. You can just focus on what you need to do, and that could be, supporting your loved ones and doing that really well, but at the same time, supporting your self-care so that you can best support them. I mentioned sunlight and getting that throughout the day. It's really important. Constantly telling the body, yes, it's daytime, do take daytime functions, It also helps lower that anxiousness and helps you better control your nervous tension or that anxiety, or just feeling a bit down. Getting out, getting some sunlight, moving is fantastic for uplifting your spirits. Nourishing your body with good food, and I, talked about what that plate should look like. 2/3, lots of vegetables, lots of colors. Then a third of your, it can be plant-based, it can be legumes, seeds, nuts, grains. It can be a fish, it can be meat, but really, living by that Mediterranean pyramid, and you'll live a healthy and live with longevity. Regular downtime throughout the day, and I spoke and touched on the Pomodoro technique. So applying that, remember, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. The 5 minutes off is for you. It's what you want to do. It's not, it's entirely your downtime. So being that, 25 minutes, you're really going focused, and then 5 minutes off. And then that night routine, which I discussed in detail. So, doing all this will really enhance your overall health and well-being. So I suggest you take elements of it initially and just slowly increment it into your everyday life. And as you find, you'll get that will become a habit. So just say you're now doing your purpose, your intentions each morning. You started with your nightly routine, then you can start incorporating some of the other things. And over time, you'll eventually just have this well-balanced and great routine that you actually look forward to. For joining the call, I did promise you a free 55-minute. Oh no, I promised you a gift to the value of 55 minutes, and that being free 15 minutes with me, where I can tailor anything that we've spoken about or anything else you have on your mind around health and well-being. We can really tailor outcomes to you and your lifestyle. So certainly feel free to take me up on that offer. It's my gift to you for investing the time into your health and well-being. I'm also running a 21-day health challenge. So if you'd like to find out more about this, please, get in contact with me. It's essentially kickstarting your health again. It's, detoxing. It's creating healthy habits, hence why it's a 21-day challenge. It's breaking old habits, creating new healthy habits, and creating the new you, essentially. So I am running that 21-day challenge. So also you can touch base with me, and I can send you some further information on that 21-day health challenge. And this is the way you can stay connected with me through these mediums, such as my website. You can subscribe to my newsletter. You can follow me on Facebook or on Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, which I'm uploading all these webinars and podcasts. So great to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay well, look after yourself, and look after others, and spread acts of kindness and generosity to the world, and we'll be much better off for what's happened. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go into